Macedo, we have breaking news. A White House official says Iran is preparing to imminently launch a ballistic missile attack against Israel. It comes as Israeli officials say troops have started a targeted ground incursion in southern Lebanon. The IDF spokesperson posted this video confirming troops have crossed into Lebanon, claiming Hezbollah was planning a, quote, October 7th style invasion into Israeli homes on the border. But Hezbollah says Israeli troops are not in southern Lebanon and reports no direct ground clashes between resistance fighters and the IDF. Now, Israel is calling for evacuations in Lebanon. Let's bring in foreign correspondent Marcus Moore from Beirut, along with foreign correspondent Tom Soufi-Burridge in Tel Aviv, and ABC News national security defense analyst Mick Mulroy for more. Marcus, I want to start with the breaking news. What more do we know about Iran's plan to attack Israel?
Well, Diane, we know what we have heard from U.S. officials as well as Israeli officials who are saying right now that Iran is preparing and is imminently going to launch missiles at Israel. In fact, I want to share with you a statement from a White House official from not long ago saying, quote, the United States has indications that Iran is preparing to imminently launch a ballistic missile attack against Israel. That White House official going on to say that we are actively supporting defensive preparations to defend Israel against the attack, and that a direct military attack from Iran against Israel will carry severe consequences for Iran. Again, that is the most recent statement from, according to a White House official, Diane, and it certainly does speak to the tension that has only risen in the past several days, not only here in Lebanon, but across the region as we watch this conflict continue to unfold. And just a few moments ago, Diane, we heard several explosions. There were several strikes in the southern suburb of Beirut, and we saw smoke and dust rising into the air. Still waiting to get word on that, but new activity happening here in Lebanon as we get word of what U.S. officials and the Israelis say they're preparing for from Iran.
Now, Tom, how are Israeli officials responding to this?
Yeah, I'm just looking over at a screen now, Diane, and there is a briefing which has just been going on from Daniel Hagari, the spokesperson of the IDF. They say they are watching the situation closely with U.S. allies. We're learning that Israeli planes are already in the air to help defend the country from this potential attack from Iran. Hagari also saying that any attack will be met with a severe response from Israel. We've also had a statement from Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu just within the last few minutes. He is talking about Iran's axis of evil, again doubling down on that threat that if Iran does strike Israel, there will be a much more severe response in retaliation from Israel. And he is also reiterating the message we've also heard from the IDF spokesperson just now, that citizens in Israel, people in Israel right now, should heed the warnings that if there is an air raid siren, people need to move to shelters quickly and follow the home front guidelines, which are effectively these emergency guidelines which are in place now across the country. And clearly we're into another very volatile and dangerous situation.
Mick, what does it mean for the U.S. if Iran does launch a missile at Israel?
And first of all, the United States has very good intelligence, as we saw in April. So this is likely something we're seeing taking place where they're getting their missiles prepared to launch. And that's why I think the U.S. officials have been saying that. But if it happens, of course, the U.S. is going to play a similar role as we did in April, where we send aircraft in and start shooting down these missiles and drones. Hopefully, just like in April, we shoot down a majority of them. It doesn't have a big impact in Israel. But if we don't, and it has a big impact in Israel, that's where the real consideration is, this thing escalating exponentially with Israel attacking directly back substantially in Iran.
And Mick, as of now, Iran has been vowing, right, that the assassination of Hezbollah's top leader would not go unanswered. Is this the answer that they have been promising?
It could be. They've been probably trying to calculate this so it won't take this into a realm of an all-out regional conflict, something I don't think Iran would like. But they're under a lot of pressure internally and from their proxies to respond after both the leader of Hamas was killed and the leader of Hezbollah was killed, and they haven't essentially responded at all. So this could be the response. Hopefully it is something similar to April, where it's mostly for show and it doesn't have impact in Israel. But we'll have to see if that's what it's calculated to do. And of course, if Israel, the United States and our partners are capable of doing what we did in April and shooting most of these down.
Tom, what are you hearing about U.S. forces now going to the region?
Yeah, we're learning from the Pentagon, Diane, that the Pentagon is moving more fighter jets, squadrons of fighter jets, F-15s, F-16s, and that's crucial because they were very key in that operation back in April that Mick's been talking about, when 300 Iranian drones and missiles were fired at Israel, and successfully pretty much all of them were shot down. We know there's a lot of US warships, an aircraft carrier strike group in this region, 40,000 US troops stationed around here. So clearly right now, we've been hearing about this in the last few days from Israeli officials too. The Israelis and the Americans at a military level are working hand in hand very closely. I think one big question, if you think about April, whether that can be repeated again, is to what extent are Arab nations like Jordan, potentially the UAE, potentially Saudi Arabia, on board this time around? Back in April, if you believe the reports, they played a very, very vital role in coordinating their radars of picking up the missiles and drones coming in, and therefore the US and other allies shooting these projectiles down. This time around, those Arab nations are under more pressure domestically because of the war in Gaza dragging on, now because of Israel's incursion into southern Lebanon and the airstrikes in that country too. So I think, there will be questions about whether the coalition across the board involving Arab nations can be strong enough this time around to have the same level of success as we saw in April.
All right, Marcus Moore, Tom Soufi Burridge, Mick Mulroy, thank you.